Hello, Hilltoppers. This is your STEM librarian, Ashley Array-Grassi. You are all doing really great research to better the greater community. You should be proud of it and want to share it with everybody. One way you can share your projects is with a poster. In this video, we will cover how to make an effective research poster. While this is targeted for those presenting in the annual WKU Student Scholar Showcase, you can use this guidance for any poster beyond the university. This is what a general research poster looks like. Every poster will have a title and its author or authors. As for the other elements, you may have all, some, or similar things. It depends on the story that you want to tell. Your main goals, though, are to stay on topic, provide evidence, identify key points, and decide what is need-to-know information. There's some things to consider before you start making a poster. First, check the guidelines with your conference or instructor. They may have specific instructions for how big a poster can be, so verify with them. One thing they may instruct you on is orientation. You may have to put your poster in either landscape or portrait. Sometimes they don't have instructions or super specific guidelines, so you get to design your poster for what you think looks best. Next, you have to set your poster size immediately in the software that you use. This is important because however big your poster will be is going to influence all of the sizes of each element on your page. Third, you will decide how it looks. This is some recommended software for creating a poster. Microsoft Publisher is typically available on PCs that have the Microsoft Office suite. If you don't have it, don't worry, there's plenty of other options. A common one is Microsoft PowerPoint, or its Google equivalent, Google Slides. These don't have the in-text line setting immediately, so you can freely arrange all of your elements on the page. Another option you can use is Canva. Canva is sort of like an online version of Publisher. As WKU students, you should be able to sign up for a free premium account using your student email. Otherwise, you can still make a quality poster with their non-premium account. Regardless of what software you choose, these all can help you align your various elements so that way they're centered, spaced evenly, and visually appealing rather than boxes scattered randomly on a page. Some things to think about with your style formatting, it's good to stick with a few different fonts, maybe no more than 3 max. Pick a color scheme. If you're representing WKU, you might follow the WKU color scheme. If you're representing a different institution, you might follow their color scheme. Otherwise, pick a color scheme that looks good for you. This next one's important, white space or blank space. This allows your poster to have some breathing room and gives your readers opportunities to take in everything better than having all of your elements on top of each other. And then lastly, flow helps dictate your storyline. So you can use boxes, lines, and blocks to help create a flow for your story. Next, you have to add the text to your poster to describe what's going on. A common narrative style in research is third person because it's a little bit more formal than saying I or we throughout it, which is first person. But if you do choose to use first person, that's fine. No one will give you too much trouble for it. Today's posters now include hyperlinks to make them more engaging. Maybe these links go to a video or to the project's webpage. If you have hyperlinks on a printed poster, insert them using a shortened link like a bit.ly or QR codes that someone can scan with their phone. We recommend these because they're easy to record. On digital posters or e-posters, you can just simply embed the links as you do with traditional text embedding. Regardless of which format you have, it's good to not have those lengthy URLs. They're hard to copy and they don't look good on a poster. Finally, when you're writing your narratives, it's good to use full complete sentences and separate things out in paragraphs. Some bullet points are okay if you need to make a little list for something, but only using bullet points isn't really great, and readers want to feel the critical thinking behind your research. Now, regarding images and graphics, anything that you create or capture yourselves are your own, so you can freely use them how you want. Though it is a good practice to give yourself the credit for creating the content, as you'll see that I did with my various dog photos throughout this video. If you make graphics with your data, say a bar graph or a line chart, that's okay to use because you're visualizing the research that you're presenting. Some images that you might want to avoid are ones that you freely find on a web page or through websites like Google Images. These are copyrighted images. If you do choose to use them, just make sure you cite them. That's all we ask. However, if you don't want the restriction of those kind of copyrights, you have alternative options. Besides using your own images, you can also find Creative Commons images. Creative Commons images have special copyrights attached to them that allows anyone to freely use them. And then depending on the copyright, you might be able to replicate or manipulate the image. And the other nice thing too is that you don't have to use a citation, but including a citation is always the kind thing to do. And then the other image you can use are icons. Icons are available through Microsoft Office and some of the other softwares. They're just freely available for anyone to use, so they're fine, and you'll see some examples of them throughout this video. When it comes to visualizing your data, make sure you do it properly. There are plenty of examples on the internet of skewed visualized data to make a particular statistic jump out or convey a different message than what it should. I have more examples in a library research guide called Data Visualization, which I'll provide a link to at the end of this video. This line graph is an okay example of a time series because there are 4 variables represented by different colors and symbols. The other images on this example are do's and don'ts for accessible image captioning. The preferred formats are either dark text on a light background or light text on a dark background. You don't want to put any text directly on a textured spot, like in this mountain, because the reader will have trouble identifying it. Otherwise, just put the caption next to the image. Speaking of accessibility, text accessibility is another thing to think about. Some people have an invisible issue like color blindness or dyslexia, so reading materials might be a little harder for them. Choosing your colors appropriately is helpful not only to them, but to everybody. As you'll see in this chart, some colors work well together and others don't. Colors like red and green can be shades of gray for a colorblind person, and then they just don't really look good on top of each other. There are plenty of color blindness simulators online, like Coblis. Coblis allows you to see what images look like to the normal eye, and then also in various different types of color blindness. And then you also do have the option to upload your own image so you can see what it looks like. Now, if you want to emphasize a point, it's a good idea to either bold it, italicize it, or underline it. This is helpful for screen readers in particular because they identify points for people who are hard of seeing. Highlighting doesn't necessarily work again for the potential color issue, and screen readers don't pick those up very well. And then capital letters appear as if you're yelling at the reader, so let's not do that. The fonts that you pick out are important for this readability. They should be clean and professional in addition to being readable. You'll see recommendations for either serif or sans serif fonts. Sans serif fonts don't have the little feet on the ends of the letters, and they're the preferred font choice for posters. Examples of these are Arial or Calibri. Serif fonts do have the little feet or tails at the end of the letters. They aren't preferred, but you could still use them on a poster if you want. Examples of these are Times New Roman, Garamond, and Georgia. The most important thing I can emphasize here is to avoid any fun-looking fonts, so like the flowery ones, cursive, calligraphy. Those can be hard to distinguish the letters, especially for people with dyslexia. So save those fonts for any art projects or graphic design projects you have. Fun fact, Comic Sans is actually an appropriate font for dyslexic people to read because you can distinguish the shapes of the letters much better with them. Next, when you align the text in your element, it's preferred you use the left adjustment, so that way all the words are next to each other with normal spacing rather than using a different type of spacing where there could be potentially large gaps in between words. Again, this is easier for dyslexic people. Font sizes also help differentiate between the various poster elements. These are all just recommendations. This will depend on your poster size for how big or small you should go. Larger posters will need larger fonts. As you increase your poster size, the font size is going to remain the same. So a 12-point font will look tiny on a 3-foot by 4-foot poster, but it's readable on an 11 by 8.5 piece of paper. One font size that's okay to have smaller than the others on your poster is in your citation section, because citations get to be a little bit wordy, but for good reason. These next couple of slides are examples of posters. This one is from Top Scholar. This was a student poster at a previous Student Scholar Showcase. This student followed the WKU color scheme, and they summarized their project well enough to convey the overall message with all their various elements. They differentiated their sections and provided good visualized data graphics. They also provided their contact information. You'll notice it in the bottom right-hand corner. This is in case somebody has a follow-up question or maybe missed them during the presentation session, so that way they can contact them for more information. And lastly, the student kindly acknowledged their advisor who helped them out on this project. This poster is also from Top Scholar and another example from a past showcase poster session. These students also followed a WKU-like color scheme. They also wrote brief summaries for their different elements, provided good data graphics, they differentiated their sections, and also provided their contact information. This is an example that I found online. It has several things of what not to do on a poster. First, they use several different font sizes just to make the text fit into its various sections. That doesn't really look great. Second, they also didn't label their graphics appropriately, only providing a description. Every graphic should have a reference attached to it, like figure A or picture 1. While the strategies employed on this poster aren't great, it works for the most part. This is another example of what not to do. This is actually a poster that I made when I was an undergraduate student. For reference, this poster is about 4 feet tall by 5 feet wide. I basically copied text from a paper and pasted it onto my poster. So I made the text really small so I could fit everything in. So don't do that. Make your fonts appropriately sized so that way they're readable from 4 to 8 feet away. And also then you can make your graphics a little bit larger too and some of your other elements. The final thing you should prepare for your poster presentation is an elevator pitch. You need to prepare this beforehand so that way you can feel comfortable discussing your content. You should include words and colloquialisms your audience will understand. At the Student Scholar Showcase, you'll have just about everyone in attendance, so make sure it's understandable for anybody. If you're presenting at a subject-specific conference like Future Farmers of America, then it's okay to include verbiage that people in agriculture would understand. Don't forget to practice, practice, practice. Your timing is super important for this to keep your audience's attention and be engaging. So the baseline pitch should be about 30 to 60 seconds long. Finally, look and feel the part by dressing appropriately and having good manners. Just a quick wrap up, tailor your content for the audience and organize it. Follow guidelines from your instructor or conference. Make sure your visuals are clear, your fonts are readable from 4 to 8 feet away. Use contrast, highlight and emphasize sections and points. Add your contact information so that way someone can ask you questions afterwards. And then prepare and practice that elevator pitch so that way you can feel confident on your content. And then it doesn't hurt to get second opinions about how everything looks and sounds. Reminder, all of the guidance in this video are suggestions for making an excellent, readable, effective research poster. How you design and style it is ultimately your decision and your aesthetic. So thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to visit your WKU libraries for more research assistance. Scan these QR codes or follow the links for more poster creation guidance, and then how to create data visualizations.